All right. I think we should get started. Thanks everyone again for taking time and being a part of this webinar today. To get us started, I have Kuldeep Kamath, the CEO of AllWave, who would be introducing the webinar and the speakers. And we'll take it from there. And just so you know, we have the Q&A section on Zoom. So whatever questions you have, just feel free to ask us, or you can use that chat option. And all the questions, hopefully most of them, we'll try to answer it towards the end of the webinar. So just be patient, but whatever questions you have, as and when you get them, just shoot them, and we'll just get back to you on it. Kuldeep, the stage is over to you.
Thank you. You guys can hear me, Rehan?
Yeah, Kuldeep, we can, yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining us. We're very excited to have all of you come in and join Kevin, Paul, and Rehan. The topic for today's webinar is basically building a better working world, and with Utelogy, basically. So we're joined by Kevin Morrison, the CEO, and Paul Leach, the technical head at Utelogy, and they will help us understand how we can gain useful insights and analytics with all the system stats, checking firmware upgrades, and essentially how we can unify the entire workspace on a single platform. They will also, Kevin will also share a few case studies with large enterprises in terms of how they've helped them to reduce cost of their operations using technology. And all of this is also done with the intent or the focus on not only the workspace analytics, but also for the whole safe return to work perspective. Over to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kuldeep, and welcome everybody. So I'm Kevin Morrison, and my colleague here is Paul Leach, as Kuldeep has introduced us. We're based out of the EMEA facility here in London. So we're about 4.5 hour time difference from everybody on IST. We're excited to show you what we're doing here. Utelogy is not a startup. It is a company which is actually about 9 years old. Started life as a sort of integrator, but actually moved into building their own open platform as they were disillusioned with the proprietary nature of a lot of workplace and AV and UC technologies at the time. So today, 9 years on, the last 2 or 3 years has been quite a remarkable change in the company. We pride ourselves of being a very open platform, completely agnostic technology organization. So we're open platform and open standards. Everything and all the tools that we use are very standard, and we put them to great use. So we also have a very, very open culture, and we're an organization that stands up every day with our leadership team across the globe, with partners like AllWave, and we talk about the market conditions. We're actually involved very closely with a lot of our end users and facilities management and in IT management and AV management about the shape of the workplace moving forward. And everything that you actually see in this product, particularly over the last couple of years, has really been borne out by customer feedback and the customers themselves. So we pride ourselves of being really reading the market and being closely integrated with the customers on the changes that are actually happening in the modern workplace today. So we're a small company growing rapidly. Quarter-on-quarter growth this year is like 270% on our Q1 numbers. We expect that sort of pattern to continue in Q2. It's an interesting time for us, perhaps in Europe and some parts of the US. We are sort of coming out of this COVID battle. Last year, we actually, during the pandemic, we educated a lot of our end users and our partners really about the art of the possible in modern buildings today. And we're really excited about what this platform can do, because it is open, it is agnostic, and we believe that this will actually make a very, very big change to workplace technology going forward. We have a global presence. We're supporting many of our global clients around the world as they install these new technologies and global work places all over the world. We've got some great partners and partners like Allwave here in India that do an outstanding job. And we really are leading this field, we believe. We're getting great accolades both from the industry and from our end users about our technology, the way we deploy it. And with that, we're actually always on the lookout for sort of talented individuals to join the business to drive that further forward. So why do we get a seat at the table today? There's an unprecedented volume of stuff now coming with end user projects with using Utelogy across the globe. And it really is, we're a workplace AV, UC, IoT management system, as I say, which is open platform and open standards. That is all based on ITIL methods and ITIL service methods to service the building, to service the workspace. And increasingly today, IT management have really sort of driven this from an IT perspective, but things like AV and UC have been slightly behind. And so what we're seeing now is the framework that our software is based on is all based on the continuous service improvement and continuous service strategies to the workplace. So our job really here is to lower cost, lower the management overhead of buildings today. As I say, we're agnostic to hardware and software, and we can really talk about how we drive huge amounts of cost out of running the infrastructure and getting real insight about how meeting rooms are being used, how many people in a certain part of the building. There is no real limit to what we can do. We're very, very focused on what our software does today, but it is very open and we can clip in other software systems as we move forward. So in a modern workplace today, we see a common thread running with all of our end users and our customers worldwide. And it's a myriad of stuff, and everybody suffers the same issue. A lot of our customers have a look at this slide that we present them with and say, you know, this looks like us. And the reality is, it looks like a lot of companies today that have a very common theme. You know, proprietary and other sort of technologies that you're using in the meeting room experience has not been fantastic. There have been islands of isolated products that are difficult to glue together. We find that, you know, it doesn't give both facilities, IT, and AV management people any idea of how the building is being managed, how the rooms are being utilized. And so our job here is to actually interrogate all of that and to make sure you actually have insight of what is actually happening with a view of actually driving down costs. We have a changing demographic in the workplace. You know, I've probably got a few more gray hairs than probably most of the people on this seminar, but we have to actually cater for the aspirational workplace and the aspirational generation, millennials, generation Y, everybody that's actually coming into the workplace today. We've got 5 generations in the workplace, and you know, the new young people that are coming into the workplace have a very different view of how they want to collaborate and how they want to use technology, and that's very, very important. Most of our customers are have an average sized AV or meeting room estate. Some actually have thousands of rooms, and some have just a very small number of rooms, but the issues still are the same. So there's no real inventory, there's no real asset management of the rooms, and ultimately there's no really defined service level about how, when something doesn't work, how it actually gets fixed. And those are really very important in today's modern environment, that you service your end users and the users of these meeting spaces and rooms and public space, so they actually have a good outcome. So what do we do? We actually have a device management technology that actually reports and records devices, where they are, how long they've been running for, and that's AV devices, that is unified communications devices. There could be sensors in the roof as IoT devices. So we manage the whole estate. Through that, we can actually determine how many people have been in the room, what the dwell time has been in, what is the occupancy, and what was the room performance. Was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? We can trap all of that feedback through our platform. And Paul here will actually give you a quick demo of the solution and show you some of the dashboards that we have to be able to monitor each of these rooms. So we manage the whole estate, we manage all the asset data, we manage where devices are, we keep track of them, we know what software versions of different devices actually have. They know when things are needing a firmware update, whether it's actually a bulb that actually needs replacing in a projector. We can give you all of that data, you know, on a very, very focused dashboard. But we also monitor in real time, every couple of seconds. These our servers are actually going out, pulsing these devices and getting feedback directly from these devices, and actually showing us and highlighting alerts. There is a problem with a particular screen, or there is a problem with a particular device. Room 532 has very, very poor audio experience, and we can actually send an alert to that device and either fix it in real time, which is very unusual. A lot of products that actually monitor and manage devices like this cannot actually physically fix it, and that's the real differentiator for us. We can actually get there and fix the device in real time. Or if it's truly broken, then we know we can actually go into a particular location with a particular unit or new device and fix that with a minimum of fuss and very, very quickly. And underneath our engine of all of this, we've actually also got a lot of control and automation in the platform. So we can do some very intelligent and very smart things about room monitoring and automation, and actually our ability to test rooms in the middle of the night, for example, to make sure that they're working and they're functioning properly before the users actually get in the morning. So there's a lot of stuff that we actually do in this package. But this is all part of, you know, really, as I say, our workplace service management, which has now become a very, very big thing in the industry. This time last year, we'd be lucky to see maybe a request for proposal anywhere for this type of application. But there are now about 40 to 50 global RFPs on the street for major vendors, for major end users that are looking for external management of their environment, because it has become a very, very big thing. It dramatically lowers cost, it dramatically increases efficiency, and also gives a fantastic user experience in the meeting room or in the public space. Now, the most important thing is that the elements that you see around the circle here is parts of our technology and parts of our product that cater for strategic assessment, service management, continual life cycle, and continuous improvement. And I'll talk about some of that very quickly here before we finish up. But it really is all based around workplace service management, and with the tools that we actually have in the hood, we can do everything from a very advanced auditorium center or a control room to a very small huddle space with maybe a screen, a Windows, Teams, a NUC, or a Zoom room. We can get very simple and we can get very, very complex, and it's all under the hood. So a little bit about our value proposition for everybody here. All of the stuff that you actually see, and Paul will not really go through the configuration side of it today because of the time that we have available, but it is all configurable. It is very quick to install. It is all configurable from whether a very simple room or very complex rooms or spaces. One of the things that happens is that when you connect a room, immediately we are actually taking that data that Paul will show you and porting it to the cloud. And at that point in time, we can see everything that is going on all of these devices and all of those rooms more or less instantaneously when you connect it. One of the benefits of the system is that you can imagine that many users will walk into a room and have a problem in times of actually, getting the meeting started. It maybe take 10, 15 minutes because something's not working or something is not right. Well, our ability to go and do proactive meeting checks before one meeting starts, or actually in the middle of the night, just to actually test the functionality of the room, helps you improve a really good experience for the user. And that user experience is really, really crucial. We actually have no programming costs. We have no travel costs, because many of the times we can actually set this stuff online, and we can really get to a very narrow fault isolation here and get to a specific device that is giving you a problem in that room. Then we actually can have, as Paul will show, we can track assets, we can manage software updates, and we've got lots of rules engines in here that can self-heal a room if needed. So we turn from what really is, or the old method of being proactive rather than essentially a reactive situation. So reactive is something like a meeting room, projector doesn't work. We have to actually call somebody in because it doesn't work, the meeting has to end. And that point in time costs money, it costs time and money for everybody to get together, or you can't get a network connection and therefore the Zoom call doesn't work. We've all been there. But from our side, we really are proactive in that we will test the room. We will make sure that all the devices are working in a room. We will actually, if there is a fault, we will send the appropriate people at the right time, so minimizing downtime. We have a range of other tools connected to our product called data connectors, as well as providing the analytics that Paul will show you today. We have data connectors which will allow you to use other tools like Power BI and Tableau and Splunk and other tools that you can actually start to draw information from your estate and have a look at uptime and occupancy and everything else. And we take this piece of our business very seriously. We are very standard software company, software standard tools. So InfoSec is really important, particularly for a lot of our major global customers. Security is really very important. We've all seen a lot of the publicity around, people hacking software and everything else on site. We take this very, very seriously, and we are basically in daily InfoSec and penetration testing and everything else for some of the largest names around the globe. So rest assured that we do this. All our data is encrypted in flight. All our data is encrypted in storage. So it is highly secure. So backed by that, we have online videos, we have training materials, we have a host of stuff if anybody was interested. We've got lots of new white papers about how you run a modern building under ITIL infrastructure. We have a new white paper coming out here shortly. So if there's anything anybody would like to see or would like to read, we've got plenty of it. So we'd be delighted to share that with you. And the team from Allwave have access to all of this to assist you. But here's our technology partners. They are the who's who of the industry in IoT, in AV, in IT, in terms of Microsoft and Zoom. We're very well known all the way up to Eric Wan from Zoom. So we have a great partnerships with these companies. We actually have drivers and connectors for every single one of these. We currently support over 2,500 devices today, which is pretty significant. And our customers actually really are the who's who of industry. We focus on a lot of corporate markets, a lot of education, higher education in particularly, and the government. We've got lots of federal government accounts really in North America and in Australia, and in some parts of the UK. Companies like British Petroleum use our technology offshore on production rigs, coming back stuff into the refinery. They've got their meeting rooms, they've got sensor technology around the rig in the sea to actually, track occupancy and everything else. London Business School is a really, really smart team of people here that Paul has worked with. And basically they can actually build a classroom in a matter of minutes, see if it's suitable for their end users. If not, they will actually go and rebuild another classroom really quickly. So that's just how agile it is in a matter of minutes to actually get a really good teaching and hybrid teaching experience for the students. And they're one of the best business schools in the globe, and they do a really good job. They love the product. It actually gives massive efficiencies to them in terms of cost management, cost saving. They ping their rooms every night and actually make sure that they're available for the lecturers who walk in every morning. Big cost saving. We've just had to deal with Ally Bank to support a couple of thousand rooms with Ally Bank in the Midwest. Again, their biggest issue was they were a small team. They're trying to manage a very big estate. And currently, to make sure that the users have good experience every day, they're sending people around the building every night to test the video, to test the audio, to test everything. And we do this in an automated fashion, saving them a lot of costs and a lot of hardship. It means that they can expand their team and put them to other services, and it was a big return. Customers like Deutsche Bank now are actually using us on a global basis for all of their facilities. We started in New York. We're just about to do the European entity and move over to Asia Pac as we speak. So we have some great references. We have some great customers and end users, should you ever want to do that, even the likes of Microsoft. The Microsoft Azure Center is actually run by Utelogy. It's a massive control center. And basically with that, we will actually manage their estate at the Microsoft Azure facility up in Redmond, Seattle. So that gives you an idea of the type of customer base, and they're growing actually daily. So a great piece of interest, and all the way through to customers like BMW, who have just enormous estate in Munich alone. Actually have about 15,000 rooms within the campus around the Munich area. It's an enormous facility. We actually have a very small presence here of about 500 rooms, but we're now working to deploy that on a global basis. Again, same thing. Users have a bad experience. They wanted to make sure the room has got a 99.9% uptime and that they can walk in and go straight to work in any meeting room around the campus, and that's the goal. So I'm going to let Paul very quickly go through this slide, and I'm going to stop sharing, and Paul is actually going to share a quick demo of some dashboards and everything that will show you how we provide insight into the enterprise.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you very much. So, yeah, as mentioned before, my name's Paul Leach, and I'm the Technical Operations Manager for the EMEA region. And what I'm going to just talk you through here in this diagram is just the pieces of the Utelogy puzzle, as it were. So at the heart of any Utelogy deployment is the U server. So a U server essentially is a software application that you can deploy in any manner you see fit. So we have multiple customers around the world who ask us, okay, well, how do I deploy this? Do I need to have a physical server to install your software on? Yes, you can. Can it be virtual? Yes, it can. Can it cover multiple buildings? Yes, it can. Can it cover a region? Can it be in the cloud? Can it be, siloed to particular flaws or however you want to do it? And the answer to all those is absolutely yes. You can really deploy this piece of software to whatever the security standards are of your organization or your customer's organization. So generally, people tend to put a U server per site. So if you have a building in New Delhi, one in London, one in Hong Kong, you could have one per site, because essentially what would happen at that stage is the U servers talk to the devices on the network. So, we've got our roots very much in AV. So things like video conferencing systems from the likes of Cisco and Polycom, displays, DSPs, video matrices, and also in-room PCs. So very much what's being rolled out in the estates these days are things like soft codecs from the likes of Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So we're able to monitor things at a very deep hardware level with a application we call uComputer, which is an agent application that's installed on the Windows-based endpoint. And that also gives us that capability as well to be able to monitor USB peripherals, which is always going to be the first point of failure for any kinds of soft codec rollouts. So if somebody walks in, pulls out all the USB peripherals to plug in their USB stick and doesn't put it back together, that's going to be an issue that you're going to see come up in Utelogy almost instantly, almost in real time. It's a very quick kind of message from the device to the U server. So the U server is the on-premise side of things. And the U server as well can also act as a fully fledged control system. So just like in the same way as like an AMX or a Crestron or an Extron control system, we offer, as part of the monitoring as well, the ability to offer in-room control. And again, one thing that's very, very clear about how Utelogy works is, we don't offer any hardware as part of our solution. We want to be agnostic. We want to be able to work with every device out there and integrate with every device out there, and even existing devices you have. So if you want to then, have in-room touch control, you don't need to buy a Utelogy touch panel. You just need a touch, some kind of interface that's compliant with HTML5. So that could be an iPad, Android tablet, Windows device, could even be your phone if you wanted it to be your phone. So that's the U server. That's very much the on-premise side of things. So you've got your on-site control, and then you've also got your connections to the devices. U manages the portion that we're going to take a look at in a bit more detail today. So everything that a U server is collecting securely from these devices, then getting securely passed to the management platform. And the management platform really allows you to visualize all that incoming data from all these different devices. So you'll be able to use dashboarding, you'll be able to do live kind of reporting of device health, you'll be able to customize your alerting, you'll be able to do proactive monitoring. So when something becomes broken, have the ability to understand what part of it's broken. But also probably the biggest part of how Utelogy is working in the market at the minute is the U Automate feature. So U Automate is our ability to run scripted tests against the room. So to be able to essentially have the technology use the room like a user would use it. And we'll get into that part as we kind of start to wind up this demonstration. So Kev, if I can just steal the screen off you, and I'll bring up our uManage dashboard just here. So as mentioned, what will be happening now is the U servers will be on the customer site, and they will be talking to those devices, so getting information back from them. The first thing you see when you hit uManage is the dashboard interface. So the uManage dashboard is the ability to visualize all the different data points coming in. And the way that we do that is by using a series of tiles. So dashboards are blank until you bring in the tiles that you want to use and you want to see and you want to configure. And they're all completely configurable. So we have a whole host of different tile types that can show live data. But in the last week, we've also released a new set of tiles that will allow you to report on historical data as well. So that just goes to show, because the Umanage is very much a cloud system, there's no database for you to update, there's no software application for you to update. We update everything centrally, and that becomes available to all of our different customers and clients. So I've set up a couple of dashboards here for demonstration. So this overview dashboard is designed because I want to be able to have a good overview of the room. I want, somebody who's not necessarily familiar with the whole kind of building layouts to have an idea and an understanding what's happening. So we've got two tiles here, which are the room count tiles, and they're showing different pieces of data. So the first one says, okay, there's 47 rooms here, and 12 of those rooms are currently in a call. So already just reading this, I'm able to understand what's going on here. We also have this tile down here, which is the room list. And this shows us all the kind of rooms and what they're currently doing. These columns are customizable, so you can change them to data that makes more sense to you. But by default, you'll get things like, okay, the name, the state of the room, how many alerts are against the room, is the room in a call, and if the technology in the room can support it, how many people are in the room. So we can either get that back as a number that we store over time and that we can kind of measure over time, or we can get that back as a kind of a yes or a no. So already you've got a good understanding of what each room is doing and what the whole estate is doing. Just beneath this are two customizable tiles. So like I say, we've released a new set of tiles that allows us to chart things over a certain time. So what I'd like to know is, okay, well, I'd like to know during this week, so from Monday to today, what manufacturers have given me the most alerts. So what alerts are coming mostly? So you can see we've charted this over a number of times. So we've had a few errors from BIAMP, some from the Clear one small error from the Crestron Lightwear, and this is all showing the severity. So red equals error, and sort of a amber yellow equals that there was a warning. So already we can say, okay, well, we know what kind of devices this week we're having issues with. And again, this tile is customizable. So if you want to then be able to change what kind of date range this occurred over, so I've got it set for this week, but I can have it set for today, yesterday, last week, this month, this year, custom range, whatever I want to see. I can change the type of chart, so how it displays and how it works. I can change the categories. We can change what kind of things we're seeing on here. So you've got a very, very customizable way to be able to visualize this data. And you can have multiple dashboards, which I'll demonstrate shortly. So this dashboard for me is designed for an overview of the health of the system in a live environment, when we can look at the health of utilization over a period of time. Again, we've got another one here which kind of breaks down what we've just seen there, which is which manufacturers have given us the issues to what the actual issues are. So we've set up a series of alerts and rules, which we'll go into shortly, which is tracking CPU levels of a PC. So I've got a PC which is running Zoom. I've got a PC which is running Microsoft Teams, and I'm tracking that CPU level, and I'm saying, okay, well, if it gets to a certain stage, so if it's over 30% utilization, then that's getting a bit high, and then higher than 50 is an error, and that's what's being charted here. It's telling me how many times in the last week it's gone into the error state, how many times we've had a network connection issue, how many times, this is Zoom specific, but how many times the Zoom controller's disconnected, the Zoom room's offline, and anything in red is an alert that's currently active right now. So right now we do have 9 connections to devices which have failed and severed and need resolving. So again, this is all just completely customizable, very visual, should give you a very clear picture of what your current estate looks like. Another tile I have in here is the web page tile. So this gives you the capability to not just have Utelogy data, but you can get data from an external source as well. So in this example, it's just showing the Utelogy web page, but if you want things like company news in there, you can do that. If you'd like information from a separate management platform, you can embed dynamic HTML content within your dashboards as well, because our real goal is to be a single pane of glass for all of your different management platforms and all your different needs. Like I say, you can create more than one dashboard. You can create multiples to have for multiple views. So this is an example of something that would look good on a sort of a big screen in a NOC environment somewhere. So if you want to be able to chart and see some comparative data. So again, one tile type, two different views. So on this left side, this is showing us all the installed rooms we have across Europe. And on the right side is a red dot that's indicating that these are the rooms within Europe that have issues. So again, it's just very clear, very visual. Like I say, you can imagine this on a big screen. There's a red dot gone up. There's an alert, there's an issue right away that you need to go deal with. And we can go to our alerting system and go figure out what that issue is. And as I say, with our new analytical tiles, it's not all just about the live information as well. So with these, we can create dashboards that give us an understanding of the overall utilization of something over a period of time. So what I've done is I've created this dashboard that helps me understand exactly how the VC systems have been utilized over the period of a year. So again, these are customizable. You can set, what date range you're looking at, what particular metrics you're looking at, things like that. So I wanted to say, okay, well, show me all my rooms and tell me what the total calls were that were made last year. So in Australia, boardroom is 125 hours worth. It was highly used in Italy, in Florence. And then again, it was over a certain period of time across here. So which rooms are getting the most use? So obviously the one in Italy has had the most use last year. Down here is something I found quite interesting as well. We can take a look at VC utilization versus non-VC room utilization. So in the blue, this is tracking a metric we have called, does it have VC? Does it have VC capability in the room? So non-VC rooms during the last year, in Q2, we used less than VC rooms, but then the trend flipped over in Q3, where non-VC rooms were now being utilized more than actual VC rooms. And again, this is all very good data to understand not just how your assets are performing, are they online, has someone unplugged the USB, but are people using them to their fullest capabilities? Are people using the video technology? What are the trends per quarter, per week, per year, per month? I mean, really can get quite in depth with how you're doing these analytics. This one's showing us over this period last year, the severity of the issues we had with and how many issues we had with VC systems over the year. And another tile here, which is extremely interesting, is the average time to meeting start. So with this tile, essentially, we can track how long it took from one event to happen to another event on average. So one metric that our customers came back to us and asked us for, was, we have someone go in the room, they start a VC room up, it's 11 o'clock, the meeting started at 11, but they actually didn't start the meeting until 10 past 11 because they were, trying to get the technology to work or whatever it may be. So how much time am I losing per year on average in each of these rooms from someone walking in and pressing a button to start it and to someone actually making a call? And that's what this does. This calculates the average time over that period. So this, for example, a 12-person meeting space, the average was around 17 minutes before people got into the meeting, from the time the system turned on to the time the call was made. Similar kind of metric with this room as well. Fran's boardroom, we were losing a lot of time between those two values. But you can do it with different ways. So we could go in and say, okay, well, show me from when the room was occupied. So if you have a sensor in there, to when the room was in a call. So from the moment people walked in to they get into a call, what's the average amount of time that takes in that particular room or that particular area? And again, you know, it's taking a lot of this data that we're retrieving from these different devices, different endpoints, and giving you something quite rich to understand the proper utilization of your estate. So that's kind of the dashboard area. If you want to drill down into the actual rooms and the way everything's set up, we have a full filtering system here. So if you've got a global rollout or a regional rollout with lots of buildings, you can very easily go in and whittle down to the rooms you want to see in this view. We can go into a particular space and have a look at its health and its values. So when you first go into a room, you'll see the assets that are registered with that room. So which devices are here. So we've got Cisco codec, we've got a PC in here, we've got a Zoom room connection, we've got 2 screens and a Logitech meetup. And again, it'll give us all the values of these devices and what they're currently doing. So if we go into this PC, which is online in a minute, we see we've got that error for the CPU levels of the PC. So we're getting an error right now because it's exceeding what we'd expect. And we're getting that value from here, the metrics. So each device we talk to gives us different pieces of data telling us how it is currently operating in real time. And like I say, we store this for us to be able to report it at a later date. We're also able to look at these live. So we can see that CPU levels are currently at 83%, which is outside of operational range or optimal range. So we took this value and we went and created a rule against it. And we've done this globally, essentially. So rules are the ability to be able to tell Utelogy what is an error. So in Utelogy, some things are an error by default. So if Utelogy cannot talk to the endpoint device, that's an error. We'll tell you about it. Some devices are clever and can tell us exactly what the problems are. We'll put that in for you. That's part of the system. But we can also do these custom ones. So like I say, I wanted to track the CPU levels and see what kind of health they were in. So we've got 2 levels here, a warning and an error. So I want to be warned if the CPU level is above 30% utilization. So in between 30% and 50%, that's the warning threshold. If it exceeds 50%, then we're in an error state because the CPU is getting overutilized, and that will then store in Utelogy for historical reporting. So you can look at the health of something. You can create one of those dashboard tiles that shows you the CPU utilization over a period of time over different locations. And again, you can build up and customize this how you like. So we've got things like lamp hours. So tell me your projector, tell me your lamp hours if that exceeds a certain threshold. You can look at displays and ask, well, if the display is on the right input or not. If it's no longer on the right input, send me an alert. And the same with the temperature as well. We can track temperature of an actual device, depending on whether it can give us that information in its API or not. So just kind of wrapping up on the room side of things, going back to this 12-person space, we've got the devices, we've got the health of the devices, they're reporting their metrics to us. We're also collecting metrics about the room itself. So one thing about Utelogy that's I feel really important is that we're as much a room management system as we are an asset management system. So the ability to be able to understand the whole kind of health of the room is just as important as the actual devices themselves. So we store information in here, such as, does it have VC capability? Was there a problem when it started up? Is it in a call? How many people are occupying the room currently? We can input data here, like when it was installed, what kind of room it is, things of that nature. So we can kind of, cover all bases of the room as well as that. But even a small thing like the ability to upload documentation to a room. So, when you come to, install the room, and you want to add in additional data to it, such as if you wanted to add in, let's say, a warranty statement, POs, pictures of the room. I've got an example of it in here. You've got room photos, schematics, user guides, POs, warranty statements, things like that, because then you've got a full understanding of the room. So if one of your engineers needs to go and fix the room, not only do they know about the live state of the assets and the room, but also any supporting information that you can place into here as well. So that gives you kind of a brief tour, and I'm conscious of the time, and we have some questions and things that we'd like to get answered. So I'll kind of wrap up this side of the demonstration with our Automate feature. So the idea behind this is, well, we went to the market, and like I say, like Kevin said earlier, a lot of our features are based on customer feedback and what people are looking for from this software. And we said to the market, well, we've got control, we've got a monitoring platform. How can we bring these things together and make this even more useful for you? How do we draw cost out of the business? How do we help you effectively use your resources? And the story of one customer in particular helped shape this, this feature. They mentioned to us that they spend $2 million a year on somebody going into the room outside of business hours, let's say 2 o'clock in the morning, and essentially testing the room. So powering on the screens, power on the VC system, make a call, check the audio is coming out the kind of the speakers, all that kind of stuff. So they'll do that and move on to the next one. So there's a few reasons why that's not very efficient. A, that's very expensive. Obviously, the cost of that is going to be quite high. B, those resources that are working during the evening or outside of business hours can be redeployed and used more effectively during business hours to help people who have live issues to fix. And I think the most important part of this is the devices themselves are giving us kind of live information and forensic data we can use to make judgments of whether this room or this device is in a working state or not. So we took all that kind of mandate and we created this feature. And the idea behind this feature is essentially what you're going to do is you're going to create a script which is the technology is going to go in the room, it's going to turn on the room, it's going to use it like a user would use it, turn off the room, move on to the next one. And that's powered by these blocks. So these blocks are all pre-programmed, pre-configured sort of ways to affect change on the room. So you can bring them in, you can customize them, you can say at what point they happen. This is all completely customizable. So in this section, we're going to turn the room on. We're going to check the device's health, so we'll see if things are offline or online. And then we're going to make a video call autonomously. So this now has the ability to make the call, connect the call, check the TX and RX rates of the call, shut down the call, and report back the results of that particular connection. We can check the overall health of the room as well to see if the room itself is reporting as being in an error state. And we can even do control over the rooms as well. So one example that's been done out in the in our customers is we tell a DSP to put noise in the room. The speakers will put that noise in, and then a microphone will pick up the audio coming from that. And we can then interrogate the microphones and ask, are you receiving a signal right now? And then we can power the system off in this particular example. Once you've built your script, you can then tell it to run at a particular time. So we're going to run this script at 2 in the morning. It's quite clever in the sense that it will run on the location's local time, not necessarily go off in different time zones. We can set it all up so that it goes off at 2 a.m. at the actual time zone of the location. We can say when it repeats or not. And the result of that is a test that gets reported back to you once it's completed to tell you exactly what happened. So we can run this against 1 or more rooms. In this example, it's 1, but if you want it to be 100, you can run against 100. It'll tell you how many rooms were processed, how many passed, how many failed, and that's the number that you're interested in. How many critical errors are there to go and fix? And it'll give you a full breakdown of what happened. So you can filter it out so it only shows the rooms that have failed. All the rooms that have passed don't have to be viewed. And it will tell you, okay, we turned the system on. We checked all the devices. The majority of them were offline when we checked it. We tried to make a call, but that call failed after that one attempt that we set. We checked the codec's health, and that's reported back as being in a critical state. So it's in a non-working state. So all that data combined would lead you to believe there's an issue with the network or the connectivity of that room. And I feel like this feature really sums up Utelogy in terms of where we're looking to go in the market, how we're looking to achieve things. We want to make things as easy and scalable as possible, and this feature really does kind of do that in all those different ways. So that kind of ties up my little bit there.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks a lot, Paul. I think there are a few questions on the group chat if you want to take a stab at answering them.
Yeah, the Q&A button here. Okay.
Yep. So
okay, maybe I can take the first one since I know a couple of environments like this. Can Utelogy connect organizations in a decentralized environment with different colleges and major units having different network and infrastructure needs? Yes, we can. We actually have very large colleges and community colleges in North America. One of them is being LACCD, where we've actually got lots of very different colleges in the LA community. And they're all actually run by Utelogy, and they have very different locations and very different campuses doing all different types of things, arts, vocational training, qualifying people for nursing and medical. So yes, it's that actually can be done. We also have a provider called TFL in North America who's actually got 11 such environments. It's hosted, the U-server piece is hosted on AWS, and it actually touches devices on 11 different colleges who've actually got many campuses under each of the colleges. So yes, it can be done. Do you want to take the next two, Paul?
yeah. So does the tool have the capability to cancel a meeting and free the room if the meeting does not start? The answer is yes and no. So Utelogy really does, our philosophy is to offer as much out of the box functionality as we possibly can. So integrations with devices, integrations with anything with an API essentially. So this is something we have looked at as a future roadmap item to do it. I mean, you could technically do it because we are a platform you can build on. So if you wanted to write your own driver to cancel things out and connect to different room booking systems, you can. Because in the control system itself, you're able to react on system events. So you could have if no one's in the room and the VC system isn't in a call, do something. You can do that, but it's not out of the box functionality. That's more bespoke and something that someone with the skills to write a Utelogy driver could do. in a similar way to sort of Amex and Crestron. So if you want to write Utelogy drivers, you can do. It's all written in C#. It's very, very straightforward for anyone who's programmed.
The always team can do all of that as well. So, you know, one of the things that we do with this type of arrangement is that if we do have a safety issue, or you want to have stuff displayed on messages on a display infrastructure really quickly to evacuate the building or do other things, again, because we've got the automation and control, we can stop the meeting, we can shut down the audio, and we can actually push this stuff out onto the screen. So that's the type of stuff that we can do, providing there's obviously a signage player in the background waiting for us to trigger the playlist with a warning sign to exit the room.
Kevin, interesting point. I was just having a chat with the Now Signage guys a few days back, and maybe that's a conversation for some time in the future. But even looking at inbuilt signage capabilities of the display, and to Paul's point of canceling the meeting, most of the rooms, at least in India, end up running on a Crestron or Extron system. So I mean, the practical answer is yes. It's possible to kind of cancel the meeting out in 10 to 15 minutes.
And similar to the next one, Paul, right? We use it trying to play with some rules that are configured. Again, we could do something with the scheduling system, but other rules, for example, that we can do. So, for example, if you're setting for your screen is HDMI 1, and someone's actually plugged in something to HDMI 2, we'll recognize that and default that back onto HDMI 1. So when the next user comes in, they're going to have a good experience. So there's certain rules that you can build in to do certain things and leave the room in a ready state, no matter what people are playing in. So, or what they're doing in the room, we can actually make that work. You want to take the last one there, Paul, on tracking?
Yes. So it's a very good question. So we've just released, as part of our the tiles that you've just seen that you can do historically over a period of time, we just released one called source usage. And the idea behind source usage is to allow you to check and see over a certain amount of locations what devices have had the most utilization over a period of time. So let's say you installed 100 rooms. Each of those has a visualizer, a VC system, some kind of BYOD device. You can see how many times somebody switched to that particular device to use it. So let's say over those 100 rooms, the Wolf Vision or the visualizer has never been used, or has very rarely been used. You could then make the decision to go and say, well, we can pull all those out because no one's using them. And as we go forward, make that business decision to not have to get visualizers again. So yes, the answer is to that. You can look at each one granularly and understand what's being used and what's not being used.
And we do have things like that Paul and the team have designed, like even simple things like QR codes on a table for touch list type of stuff. We also have the ability to say, were you happy with the event in this room, even when there is very little technology in the room? We can send your approval rating directly onto our portal and measure it. Your customer satisfaction rating within a room with very little technology involved. So, I mean, what we try to do here in all cases is try to give the facilities, the IT and the AV people is that insight into what's actually happening. So in the future, if you go and build a new facility, that you actually have all of this. Well, we won't bother putting this in, as Paul said, because nobody ever uses this type of device.
So,
so if there are any other questions, we'd be delighted to answer them. I hope you found the content of interest, and it was on mark. So we just wanted to make sure that we gave you an overview. There's so much depth to this technology and this product. it's quite significant, and it would probably take us a lot longer to fill in all the bits, but we have a really great partner with Allwave who really knows the product very well and can certainly help you, and we're always there to support them.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm also just going to put our generic ID on the group chat in case someone does want to have more questions. Someone on the team would be more than happy to explain Utelogy in more detail. We do have a sample running up at our office in Mumbai. I know it's not the right time to kind of come and travel, but as soon as things do open up, we would be happy to host you and kind of run you through some live scenarios as well. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Thanks a lot, Paul. I know we're just a few seconds over our scheduled time, so thanks a ton.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye to everyone.